Hey everyone, before we dive in, I wanted to share something exciting. You can now send us a text message directly from your favorite audio platform. Yes. So whether you've got a question, want to give us feedback, or just want to share your thoughts on the show, I'd love to hear from you. Look in the show notes at the very start and you will see the phrase, send us a text. Click that link, send us your message, and that's it. We can't wait to read them. Now, let's jump in with this episode.
When I ride my bike and I get in the street and a van is coming, I slide down and the van stops right before it hits my legs. Like the front tire was on the other way, the back tire was right here, and I was in the middle. And I always think,
Today on the show, former track star at Memphis Central High School and the University of Memphis, now the CEO of Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Memphis. Gwendolyn Sanders Woods is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports, talking with retired athletes, current athletes, and everyone that makes the sports world great. A quick reminder, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, make a note, subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. You can find all the information at 5thquarterpodcast.com. Now, grab your iced tea or your coffee, get ready to be motivated and inspired because this is where the real stories are told. Now, let me introduce you to my guest. She's a former track star at the University of Memphis and now the first female CEO at the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis. I couldn't be more excited to welcome to the show Gwendolyn Sanders Woods. Gwen, thank you for being here.
thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I am too. I like to tell everybody how we met. And I can't remember if we kind of met through Instagram. And then I think I saw you at the door of like the Grizzlies game. And then you guys are rebounders, aren't you?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So then, we've just like gotten to know each other and I just love your energy and I just think it's great. And so wanted to have you on here and just so happened you got promoted to CEO and we'll get into that. I know in a little bit, but let's talk about where you grew up. Actually, no, I'm gonna spring a question on you. Who is Gwendolyn today?
I think Gwendolyn today is very similar to the little girl who I was growing up. I've always been a super positive, excited person. And even though life threw a lot of things at me, I think that as I stand today, I'm still that same person that really believes in happiness and to do anything just to not only have a smile on my face, but try to put a smile on others. So I think I am still that person who is not a hopeless romantic, but a hopeless person that really believes that a smile just makes anybody else's days better. So that was who
I
growing.
I agree with that totally. And I think that's one of the things that just kind of attracted me to you in some capacity was that you're always happy. Not that we don't always have things going on, but I think you and I are mostly alike in the things that we choose to be happy. We
Right.
choose to put that out there. You grew up in Memphis. Could you kind of give us, because I know there's some things in your childhood, if you could just tell us how you grew up in Memphis as a child and the things that happened to you that have kind of, well, have followed you till today.
Well, I grew up in Memphis, South Memphis to be exact, more in particular Annisdale, right,
Mhm.
by Lamar and McLean. I was grew up in a single parent household, not because my parents wasn't married, but my dad died of leukemia when I was 4 years old, really, really young. And because of that, life changed for not only me, but my mom.
Right.
She ended up raising three kids as a single mom. We were really involved in church and I came from a good family, but the neighborhood where I grew up kind of shifted. So some of the same things that our kids embrace or um, come in contact with, whether it's gang or violence or a lot of stuff, I was involved. Well, not involved, but those things were around me. So it took uh, my parents and outside support to kind of help keep me on the right track. Because even though you come from a great family, uh, peer pressure and being outside the family, having those things at your fingertips can influence your life. And I'm just thankful uh, because mentorship and a certain coach changed my life and kept me on the right track. So when my mom was working, I had
Right.
something very positive to do. So I grew up in inner city, and a lot of people didn't expect for me to make it. You know, some of my close friends that growing up, they didn't actually make it out of
Right.
the neighborhood. Some of them
Right.
not alive today. So, you know, I embraced a lot of things. I had a lot of support, and I'm grateful for it because it changed my life and kept me on the right track and exposed me to things that I probably would have never been exposed to or had an opportunity to do.
How do you think that your mom, being a single mom, how do you think, how did she inspire your journey and the person you are today?
Well, my mom was an amazing person. She was a really good person, and she was a woman of faith. And the reason I say that is because she kept a smile on her face, right? Even I don't care if a bill came in and it was saying that the lights were gonna cut off.
Right.
She wouldn't let that like discourage her. She just absolutely believed, like I said, I grew up in church that God will make a way. And honestly, he always somehow did. And so she always encouraged us to have faith and to work hard. You know, it wasn't any handouts. My mom got up,
Right.
went to work. If her car wasn't working, she caught the bus and went to work. And
Yeah.
so because I saw her get up and go to work and she didn't necessarily take handouts, she wanted to work for the things that she got. I think that their work ethic and ability to go out and try to make it happen and don't give a lot of excuses, you know, just
Right.
do your part and everything else hopefully will fall into place. I feel like, but who she was, her faith, and how she worked really shaped who I was as a person, who I am as a person.
How do you think the absence of your father has affected you as an adult now?
Well, you know, statistics show that a girl growing up in the absence of a father, you hear certain behavior that
Right.
this little girl displays. Thankfully, you know, a lot of those behaviors I don't display. One, my mom absolutely made me aware of the kind of man that my father was. Um,
Yeah.
he was a good man. He took care of his family. He worked hard. So even though I did not have that father in place, she always told stories of what an amazing person he was. So growing
Yeah.
up, if I did think about getting married, I would always think about this is the kind of guy that I would want because my mom always talked about how this person was. She also kind of shielded us and meaning that she was very strict. So a lot of the things that people their parents were working or that others in the neighborhood could do,
Mhm.
me and my siblings were unable to do. I feel like it could have went differently, but we did have support system. I had an older brother who was 9 years older than me.
Yeah.
And so although I did not have a father, I had an older brother who was standing on the porch or in the yard across the street to make sure that even if he got into a little trouble, he was going to ensure that his little sister was not gonna uh,
Right.
get into as much trouble. Whether it was, I can remember him telling me, "Do not ride the bike in the street," but I feel like it was so boring riding on the sidewalk. So I thought no one was watching. And I ride my bike and I get in the street and a van is coming. I slide down and the van stops right before it hits my legs. Like the front tire was on the other way, the back tire was right here, and I was in the middle. And I always think, maybe I was really supposed to be good at track because he did not hit my legs. My brother snatched me, uh, took the bike, and I wasn't able to ride it. And ever since that day, I kind of listened to what my big brother told me. So although I did not have that dad, I had an older brother who was kind of like a father figure to me.
Sure. You know, it's funny. My brother is actually 9 years older than me. He wasn't quite as observant, but he used to forget about me. Like he'd be supposed to pick me up when he got out of high school and I was still in elementary school. And he would like forget unless he pointed his car towards the elementary school. He would completely forget about me and I'd be standing out on the corner.
Where's my
Um,
brother?
um, so you mentioned track, and I talked about that obviously in the intro. When did track become a part of your life?
Well, so in the neighborhoods growing up, you would always race. We would get in the middle of the street and you would
Yeah,
race. And the older you got, you wanted to be like the fastest on the street. But what happened to me, ironically, is when I was in the 7th grade at Fayetteville Junior High, there was a basketball tryout. And as a part of the basketball tryout, you had to run a mile. So I wanted to make the team. So
right,
we ran a mile, and the basketball coach timed us. And she was looking at the clock and she was thinking, did this, it was 20 laps around the gym at that
right,
time. She was thinking, did she really just run that time? So she made us run it the next day, but she called the track coach in and she made us run the mile again because she wanted the track coach to see it.
right.
And so I think at that time it might have been at the time, maybe at that time, maybe a little bit up on the 6 minutes for 7th grade. I eventually got way better, but they were just so shocked that a 12-year-old was running like a 5-something-minute mile. And
Wow.
and so I got stuck running the mile since that day. I made the basketball team, but it all came because she wanted us. That was one of the requirements to run a mile. They were trying to weed people out, and I ended up being really good at running the mile.
So
And that was
that's
my
what I was
first
going
time running the mile that day. So
that's what I was going to ask. Did you play any other sports besides
I
track?
love basketball, but I just happen to be really good at track. In basketball, I was good. I was a decent player, but the kids now they have personal trainers. They have
Oh, I know, right?
we barely had a place to play basketball, but like basketball, I was good, very good at defense. Uh, and back then, if she called boxing one, that means when I'm on you, you're never getting the ball. You're not gonna score anymore.
I know
So yeah.
these people today, like I don't, I saw an interview the other day that said, I don't know if it was LeBron or somebody else. They were like, these players today, they couldn't have played back in the day. Like they couldn't have handled like the toughness.
Oh no.
No, they could not. Did you play basketball all through high school?
Yeah, so I played in junior high and I played at basketball in high school. The farthest we went in high school, we lost to sub-state, Coffee County. And I feel like if we call them back, my team, we might get our revenge. At this age, we want our revenge. We want to play Coffee County. So anybody listening to this podcast, you played at Coffee County Central High School, wants our revenge.
Okay, wait a minute. You went to Central High School?
Central High School.
I just caught one of their games the other night. It was Central versus Overton, and I went.
Oh.
I watched it. So I did not know you went to Central High School. So yeah, let's have that revenge game. Obviously, yeah. So you started running track, and the mile was your big thing. Was your main
Mhm.
event?
So I ran in junior high. I ran the mile and the 800. So in junior high, I might have won like I think the award says 65 consecutive races. I
Right.
never lost. So back then you only have the leagues. I think city and regionals back then. And then after that, I went to Central. And my track coach at Central called me in the middle of the summer and asked me, was I going to run cross country? And I was like, well, what's cross country? She said, well, it's just like you warm up. They used to make me practice with the guys because the
Right.
girls really couldn't keep up back then. So she was like, 3 miles you run before practice. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. I said, where is this at? She was like, Central. And I said, I don't know. She said, well, could you just show up for practice? Because I just got the new basketball coaching job. And I told her I can get you to run cross country. I'm like, well, when is practice? She was like, tomorrow. So I showed up and I started running cross country.
Did you have any colleges recruiting you for basketball?
So no, back then, even with track, so let me tell you the story, even with track. There were not a lot of people recruiting, or I'm not gonna say, or maybe our guidance counselors.
Mm,
We had so many people or students at Central that I think sometimes some students get lost
sure.
in
Yeah.
in the shuffle because I would do exactly what they say. Take your ACT, do all
Right.
these things. But I think sometimes at that times guidance counselors assume that we know what's next, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
no one in my family had ever went to college. And what happened was the same basketball coach, it was March, my senior year, and she goes, "Well, Gwen, what are your plans?" And honestly, my plan was one to finish high school because and to have no kids because growing up, that's all
Sure.
they said, don't have kids and graduate from high school.
Right.
And so in March, she was like, nobody's reached out to you about track. Well, let me make some phone calls. So Miss Bennett, shout out to Miss Bennett. Her husband is the founder of Streets Ministries. She's my
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
mentor.
Yeah. Yeah.
She made some phone calls. She she made a visit to UT Martin, and my mom and I went there on spring break. My mom was so excited that she signed with them like the first visit. Like she signed with them. We went there, but because Miss Bennett made those phone calls, she got me that scholarship. But so many people assumed because I was really good at track that I had already signed with someone, and
Right.
it was not true. So I went to UT Martin my first year. Many people don't know that, but I went
I
to
didn't know that. And I grew up like 30 minutes from Martin.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
So
I
I went to UT Martin my freshman year. Ironically, when I signed with Martin, before I got there, the coach decided not to come to Martin. And so she had a bunch of the best of preps. Back then it was something
mhm.
like the best of prep finalists. So three of the best of preps, myself and two others, we signed with UT Martin. But the coach, when we got there, left. And so we were up there with another coach that we
Oh,
are
that
unsure about.
sucks. Yeah.
So some those two of those did not run. I ran, but then I transferred to Memphis the next year when the coach Brenda Cass called me and asked me
Mm.
would I be interested in running at Memphis. And anybody who knows me knows I love Memphis. So
You do. You do. And that's another thing I love about you. Like you are like the biggest cheerleader.
I love Memphis. So that was the day I was so excited. So when I transferred to Memphis, I was excited to run for coach.
So I've been on UT Martin's campus. I've been in Martin, so I know what it's like there. So, what was that culture shock like to go from Memphis in a city to Martin, Tennessee?
It was very shocking.
Because basically, it's like surrounded by like fields of like corn and soybeans
Right.
and whatever.
And so Walmart was the highlight of the
Yes, yes,
day.
yes.
And quite honestly, I can't remember doing anything. Oh, yeah, Walmart was
Yeah,
the highlight of
yeah.
the day. And
It is.
Wendy's.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Exactly.
But people
Uh.
were really nice on campus. You did a lot of stuff on campus
Yeah.
because there wasn't much to do outside of it. So
Yeah.
I met some nice people, but I was really excited to get to University of Memphis.
So what was when you came to Memphis, like what was that like that first year? Well, let me go back. So and I guess it applies to Martin or Memphis. What was the difference running in college track versus running in high school as a track person, as a track athlete? All right, before we get into the next topic, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about something that can really help you level up your personal brand. I've created an exclusive new book called The Visionary Personal Brand Playbook. It's perfect for those of you who have big goals but aren't exactly sure how to make your brand stand out or, for that matter, where to even start. It's packed with actionable tips that you can start using right now, today. If you're interested, head over to my website at sandy-adams.com/playbook and grab your copy. Now back to the show.
Quite honestly, so in high school, I was really used to a man coach.
Mm,
And when I say that, when we talk about toughness,
right,
um, I was just used to a man coach or coaches that had a lot of experience in different things. So
right,
if it was field events or if it was distance or if it was sprints, I was used
right.
to kind of that because I went to Central, so they were extreme about the coaching staff. And when I went to Memphis, it was kind of my coach was a hurdler. So
Oh, yeah,
her focus, she was a great hurdler, and her dad was an Olympic. So
right.
but it was more geared towards that. And I also think it was more of a job in college because,
Yeah.
like you go to practice after school and then you kind of go home. But when I went to Memphis, it was you got morning practice sometimes, you got afternoon practice sometimes. You have to study hall because we have a
Right.
certain amount of hours that we had to get. Um, so it was a trying to really have balance on all the things and make sure that you checked all the boxes in one day. So
I don't even like the athletes today in college. I don't really, it's a lot on them. And, with NIL and all of that brings into play, there's just so much that they have to do. And it really does become a business. Um, what was your favorite moment during college as an athlete?
so I just mentioned that I was used to like event focus of coaches, but my second year I was there, our coach hired a distant runner. He only stayed 1 year, and his name was Sullivan. He was really tough. Like I think he used to be in the army,
Right.
and that was my best year. Um, but a lot of people complained because it was a lot of
Yeah.
injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
But my favorite moment is when I think my teammate and myself we got the dynamic duo
Mm-hmm.
this award. And this the same year we got the distant medley. We kept that record until like I think 2020 or 2019. We
Oh
kept
my
it for like
gosh.
20 years. But my favorite moment is was when Sullivan was there and he was really into it. So he would long runs, he would run to us. He made sure that we ate the right things. I love pasta to this day because he used to make us eat pasta the day before. But my favorite moment was the year I think 95 that Sullivan was there and just you see the time drop and you improve. And so my favorite moment was when,
Yeah.
not that I don't love Coach Cash, I love you, Coach Cash, but but
But you can love them differently. Like
I
you can love them differently.
I needed that toughness and reassurance, and he had a way of making sure we were held accountable. And I think growing
Right.
up the way I did, I needed that.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think were the top 3 lessons that you learned in college?
One, I learned that I talked about a mentor that I had in middle school and high school. But I also want to say, remember, I was the first to go to
Mhm.
college in my family. And so, although it was a blessing to go to college, it was a very different experience for me. Nothing really
Right.
prepared me for that. And so, I realized that even as a grown up, sometime or a young adult, I needed a mentor, right? I
Right.
needed
Right.
someone to walk me through that. And so, Dr. Hale, who is still at University of Memphis right now, who retires in May, became that mentor. She was one of the counselors in the athletic department. Um,
Right.
um, I realized that I needed that kind of support. Again, she held us accountable, made sure we were going to class and doing the right thing. And even after college, she made sure that she maintained those kind of relationships. So I think that anybody that came through University of Memphis during her time, the level of respect that we have for Dr. Hill is
Right.
very, very high. She was amazing. That was one of the things I learned. You still have to work hard. You don't
Mhm.
have your mom and dad there.
Yeah.
Um, and I also learned that anything is possible, right? Now, I
Right.
didn't want to just attend college. I wanted to get my degree. And I learned that you have to bet on yourself, but you also have to make sure that you do the work. The door has been open,
That's
but what
right.
are you going to do once the door is open? And I decided to walk in and make sure I did everything necessary that I left with my college degree from University of Memphis.
So at that time, and maybe starting college or closer to the end of college, did you have plans? Did you have a plan for what you would do after college? Did you want to continue running professionally, or what was that in your thought process?
So in college, I my end of my junior year, I got something called exercise induced asthma.
Oh.
And so what happened was I started to have breathing issues, which
Hmm.
caused me to have a lot of different inhalers that I used to have to use.
Right.
If you're gonna run something fast, you gotta use this one. If you're gonna run something slow, use this one. So it was 3 different inhalers that
Oh
I
my
was having to
God.
use, and it was just becoming like a lot.
Yeah.
And so I still ran, but for a while my breathing was off. Ironically, I do not have any issues running right now. But during that time, so running professionally wasn't an option for me. I really didn't know what I majored in communication. So what I
Mhm.
wanted to do back then was not something that was very popular. A lot of girls do it now. I wanted to do sports, right? And so
Right.
I love basketball, I love football.
Right.
And
Right.
so now that you can put on ESPN and you can see women on there all the time talking about these
Exactly.
sports. But back then in the 90s, early mid 90s, it was not
Yeah.
an
Very
option.
much.
So that's the only thing I wanted to do with that degree, but it wasn't the opportunity wasn't there for me now. So when I see women on ESPN or Sports Center or anything like that, I'm super excited. But so I didn't have a plan outside of that, but I've always had a love for kids, and for some reason, kids always.
Yeah.
I am TT Gwendolyn to everyone I know. Their kids. Um, I just feel like the work that I did kind of like fell in my lap. I feel like it was a calling. Even when I tried to run away from it and take it off my resume, that I work with youth. I wanted to do something else when I got my master's. So I'll take this off and I'll just do this. But I had the most peace and joy in my life when I did yield to like working with kids.
Um, did when you got out of college, so you've talked about the exercise induced asthma. Did you have any other, because I've had other track people on here.
Mhm.
Was there, and actually most of the athletes I asked this, was there some type of withdrawal, so to speak, from going from being that athlete on a regular basis to then being in the real, not in the well, in the real adult world where you're working and you're not having that sport? Did you have any issues with that transition?
I think that you always miss that kind of high. If your
Yeah.
name is in the newspaper or you're
Yeah.
on the news or people know you from that, I think that for a while that you kind of miss that. Now I ran track, so you're tired all the time.
Right.
So it's not like I don't miss those extreme practices, but I think that since college I've had experiences. Like right after college, I went to my first job was youth villages. And so youth villages used to have this 5K run.
Right. I remember
And
that.
so they needed to put together a team, and I forgot the CEO of U Villages at the time. So they was trying to put together a team, and someone asked him, "Well, did you know that the new girl in college five used to run track in college?" And so he came to the college that I worked in, cottage. And he asked, would I run the 5K? And I was like, well, when is it? It was a Friday. He was like, tomorrow. But if you run, you can be off a couple of days. And so I ran and I got the medal. Um, and so he was bragging. He was like, do you guys know how long she practiced? One day, but he didn't tell them that she was she just got out of college and that's why she's still in shape. So I think that every once in a while, even here at Boys and Girls Club, in Memphis and May, they have the 5K. So every once in a while
Right.
I get to go, and as long as I get the first place in my age group, I'm kind of happy about it.
So do you still run on a consistent basis?
So I just had knee surgery in September.
I
And
did not
so,
know that.
yes, rehab finished in December. So I'm just getting back. So I got a
Oh,
little
you
bit.
hid that on social media because I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, look, yeah. So I just started back running this thing. I'm taking it easy. They suggested that I run, alternate, do other
Right.
things on my knee because I don't. That's my second knee surgery. I tore my ACL, and then this was my meniscus. So this is my second knee
Oh,
surgery. And so I want to run long term. So I try to take it easy and do other things.
sure.
But
Sure.
I still
Oh,
run. I eat too much not to run.
but I'm just going to say, from a woman, you got a great body. Okay.
Thank you.
Uh, so I'll tell you, my girl crush is you and Kim Sanders.
I
Relis's
love
wife.
Kim.
Okay,
I
Kimmy.
call
Yeah,
her my cousin because Sanders is my maiden name.
yes. So you two are like my girl crushes. Like y'all look awesome. Um, I know everybody's out there going, "What did she just say?" Okay, you heard it here first. Okay. Um, so let's talk about that professional journey now. So how did your work journey get you to Boys and Girls Club?
So remember I said that my mentor was Miss Bennett, Debbie Bennett?
Yes.
Her
Yes.
husband is Ken Bennett. He is the
Ah,
CEO of Streets Ministries. He
yes.
actually used to be the chaplain for University of Memphis basketball team years
Okay,
ago,
gotcha.
right? So he called me one day. We went for coffee, and he was asking me would I be interested in working at the job. Um, got hired for one job, but within maybe a month, I transferred to another job. And I can honestly say, when I worked at Streets, that was the first time I could say love and job in the same
Right.
sense. And I felt like I found my passion. It was just so
Right.
easy. The kids were drawn to you. And I feel like this kind of work, you get to see the fruits of your labor. Like I'm older now, so when I see a kid from Streets and they're like, Miss Gwen, you remember me? You taught me this. Or you get to see kids that were in the fifth grade and now they're working on their PhD or they're doing some amazing things in the world. I went from Streets. I worked at Department of Children's Services where I saw
Right.
kids in a different light because I was a
Yeah.
child abuse investigator. So you saw some sad parts and you really wanted
Yeah.
to make sure you kind of protect these kids from this.
Right.
I worked at in the state where I used to see some kids that didn't abide by the laws and maybe they were locked up. And so I saw that set of it.
Mhm.
And then I started working at girls in Boys and Girls Club. These particular jobs try to prevent those kids from being
Right.
locked up. So I love Boys and Girls Club because it allows me to use every job that I've ever had and that skill set and the knowledge to try to impact the kids that we serve. So for the last 25, 30 years, I've been
Right.
working in youth development. I'm telling my age.
So what how did athletics, being an athlete, how did that help or has it helped you in your job today?
I think it helps a lot, right?
Right.
I think that anytime you play sports, you're quick on your feet. You have to be able to make
Right.
decisions. And if you've ever been good at a sport and addicted to winning, then you'll do anything necessary to get the job done. I
Sure.
feel like being an athlete gives me a don't give up attitude, right? It allows you to increase the morale of your team, your employees, tell them they can do it, work together to accomplish the goal. I think that it helped me a lot. I see a little bit to take it, and it just encouraged to do the best. I credited my upbringing because coming from nothing and trying to work hard to get something, and
Right.
also being a good athlete, you want to achieve goals and you want to make sure you do the research on your team. And so the
Sure.
research of the organization, everything dealing with sports, I feel like I've benefited greatly by participating in sports growing up.
So, what piece of advice would you give to young people today who are navigating challenges and looking for their passion? Because I think a lot of kids, I think if they can find something they're passionate about, I think that kind of helps them figure out their journey a little bit better. So, what advice would you give to young people today?
Don't be afraid to try new things,
Right.
right? Um, be exposed to, have conversations with people that you probably never have conversation. Be open,
Ooh,
willing. Do your research. You might realize that you're really good at something that you never gave an opportunity, and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail because sometimes failing is something. Realize, hey, let me try something else, and don't lose faith in yourself. You have to
right.
believe and write it down. I'm really a believer in write the vision and make it plain. What is it that you want to do, and how can you reach those goals? I put
Um,
I will be the CEO of Boys and Girls Club in my phone 5 years ago.
Are you serious? I love
Yeah.
that
I mean, you
manifesting.
never knew it was gonna happen, but I put it in.
Exactly. 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 No, no, no. I think, I talk a lot about, people have negative thoughts or positive thoughts. And I think that if you think about what it is you want, your actions then subconsciously are going towards that. And no, I think that's obviously great. Looking back at high school and college, what do you see was maybe your biggest struggle? And what do you think would have helped you overcome that struggle?
So being that my mom was a single parent, right, and I was
Mm-hmm.
in college, I feel like my struggle was one, not having anyone do it before me and trying to
Right,
navigate on my own what success looked like or what just to get things done. And from a financial standpoint, even though I was in school on a scholarship, my books were paid for, I had a meal plan. Back then, NCAA rules, you couldn't work during the school year, right? You could only work
right,
in summer. Summer, so my struggle was financially, like I didn't have a car. My family did not come from money, so I didn't have a mom that could, give me a car. I
right.
eventually got one, but I think one of my struggles was finances. And so even the NIL deal would have been amazing for me, even if I got paid for posting something just to be able to pay a car note or just to make sure that I had
Sure.
money in there to buy things when my mom couldn't afford it or when to have additional money when the dining hall is closed, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
can have a meal plan, but if it's past 7 o'clock, what happens when at 8 or 9 o'clock when you're hungry?
Exactly. Exactly. So okay, so let's think about what do you think your biggest value is to others today?
I think if you know Gwen and my upbringing, I just feel like my life is a reflection of having faith. Like, don't give up. I just feel like
Right.
I'm such a common person that if I can accomplish these goals, or if these things can happen for me, I think that other people can look at that and say, you know what, anything's possible. This can happen for me too. I serve as a person that usually try to make sure that others are encouraged. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that my greatest value is that I bring genuine love and encouragement, um, and and a testimony to everyone that if you believe and you work hard, then anything is possible.
So as you became CEO officially, like you were the interim CEO
Right.
for a few months, and
Since
then
from September to December.
okay, and then they elevated you to CEO. They promoted you to CEO. So what is your vision for like the next year, the next 5 years for Boys and Girls Club?
One of my visions is one first is to spread awareness
Right.
because Boys and Girls Club does so many amazing things, but a lot of people don't know that we exist. When I say we
Yeah.
have 19 sites across the city, people go, 19
I
sites?
I didn't know that.
19 sites. And they don't know that we serve ages 6 to 18. And it's literally either free at some clubs or $10 to be a part of our clubs.
Right.
Um, we have music studios. We have a technical training center that we're going to partner with University of Memphis so some of their freshmen can come and learn those soft skills or
Right.
logistics or different things while they're in school. We have all these clubs and all these available, but people don't know. And I also want to like partner. So if we don't have a club in their area and the kids can't get to it, how can we partner with community centers or other schools to try to have the
Sure.
services that we provide in their schools? If the kids can't get to us, how can we get these life-changing services to these kids? They need it because
Mhm.
statistics show that 62% of violent crimes happen after school.
Yeah,
And Boys and Girls Club is a solution. We provide a safe place after
that's
schools
right.
with engaging programs ranging from um, tutoring or conflict resolution all the way to job readiness. So we have the services. We just need to think and work together to try to collaborate and see how we can get the services in areas where we are not.
So I've noticed lately that you've been doing a lot of PR. And
Right.
is that part of the plan to really just get it out there?
Get it out there. It's probably a lot of people who have heard of Boys and Girls Club,
Hmm.
but not really familiar with what we do. And how can we spark that curiosity to support? Do you want to volunteer? Would you like to come
Right,
into our clubs? Do you want to donate? Some people might think they don't have a lot of money, but do you know that if you date, you can donate $10 a year. You can contact
right,
us and donate that, and that $10 allows us to support a kid to come to our club. You can pay $150 and pay for
right,
summer camp. It's in it. We just want everybody to know that we're here. I am the, like you said, the first woman to be the
right,
CEO. And it kind of means different for me because I worked at a club, right? So different from
right,
other CEOs that were in my seat. I worked at a club as a club director, then I was a trainer, then I was the chief operating officer. So I come from a different perspective. I understand how the club staff feel, and I'm able to let you know exactly what we do in the club. So I'm excited. I want anybody that wants to partner with Boys and Girls Club to be a partner with Boys and Girls Club. Our city needs us, and how can we play our part into reducing crime and making sure that the kids in our city are equipped with a future? I want to be
right.
just like my coach stopped me in the hallway and said, "What is your future?" And not only did she ask me that question, but she helped me obtain that future. And that's exactly what we want to do at Boys and Girls Club for as many kids as we can. Last year alone, we serve almost 8,000 kids across the city.
That is amazing. And you talk about $10 a year or whatever you can donate. I think sometimes people think, well, I don't have $5,000 to donate, so I'm just not going to donate anything.
Right,
Literally a dollar, anything would help because
right.
you build that all together and it makes a big difference. So where can everybody find Boys and Girls Clubs on the website? What's the website and social media?
It's www.bgcm.org.
Okay.
www.bgcm.org. We have Facebook, Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis, and we also have Instagram, Boys and Girls Club of Greater Memphis. We're excited because our next event is April the 22nd. It's
What
our steak and burger event, and I'm excited because
I know. I was like, yes, big time. Okay,
yes,
for before
Isaac
before
Bruce.
before
Oh,
you say that though, for everybody, I'm gonna put the website and the social media in the show notes, and if you're watching this on video, it'll be on the screen. So yeah, tell us about Isaac Bruce.
Isaac Bruce is going to be our keynote speaker April the 22nd. It's our steak and burger event. It's our annual steak and burger event. Steak and burger. It's so it started because back in the day, the kids used to eat the steak and the adults used to eat burger, and they called it steak and burger event. So we
Oh,
actually have steak and burgers, but we realized that a lot of the kids want the burger
right, right, right,
with
right,
the steak. But it's our one big fundraising event that people can come and donate. And because of those donations from Steak and Burger, that's the reason why we're able to allow kids to come for $10
right,
or for free. Because for one kid, it costs us $1,000 per kid to provide those kind of services. And so we're excited about it. Stan Bell is going to be our MC again. He's
right.
MC'd our Youth of the Year event. He did a really, really good job. And so we're hoping that University of Memphis alumni, old and new, will come out and support this event. I'm excited to hear what Isaac Bruce is going to say. He grew up a Boys and Girls Club
Oh, I didn't
member in
know that.
Florida.
Yeah. Um, did he have any hesitation in coming? Like, was it hard to get a hold of him?
Well, actually, I reached out when there was an opportunity for me to possibly get this job. I was
Right.
brainstorming. And so actually he reached out and congratulated me when I got the opportunity.
Oh,
So I am extremely thankful for Isaac Bruce and his support, and really University of Memphis athletes
sure.
support. Anthony Miller come when I was at the club, come and do
Right.
counts for the kids. So usually, that's what I love about University of Memphis. If we play the sport together, they have always shown love. We support one another. So I'm grateful for the support of University of Memphis athletes.
Okay, so last question. What would you tell a 9-year-old Gwendolyn? If you could go back and talk to yourself, what would you tell what would you tell your 9-year-old self?
It gets better.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay. So thank you so much for being on the show. That's a wrap for today's show, Gwen. I appreciate you coming on here. I know you're busy. You've had back-to-back meetings this morning, but thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. So thank you all for watching and listening, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I appreciate all your support. And another reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. My mantra is like, share, and review. Follow us on social media at 5THQRT Podcast. And yes, go Tigers. Until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week. Hey everyone, a quick scheduling update. The Fifth Quarter Podcast is moving from a weekly show to an every other week schedule. Thank you so much for your support. I'm excited to keep sharing these amazing journeys with you.